Hi, I'm Helen Shapiro. I'm an independent consultant. I've spent many years in physical risk management, international transportation, logistics, and physical risk management, as well as physical international trade and compliance. I work primarily with GDPR and data protection, and I'm a firm believer that cyber and data protection are crucial to the future of economy and culture. I think that it's not just Europe. I think that cybersecurity today is still remains a black box. It still remains an unknown for many people, and it has not yet become part of our collective consciousness. We have to make this more accessible. People have to develop the sense of cyber, if you wish. Like we have a real sense of risk in many things we do, in our private lives, in our public lives, but cyber remains a sort of very technical, very ephemeral kind of risk that we tend to sort of push on experts. And that goes hand in hand with issues like digital identity and digitalization in general. I think this is an interesting question because it is not just about regulation or over-regulation or under-regulation. We are talking about a real change in the way we exist. It's something that affects every little bit of our lives, the way we do payments online, the way that we have the digital identities, and the way that we incorporate innovation in general. There are different technologies that are more or less subject to vulnerabilities. There are a lot of legacy issues. So if you ask me what do we have to do from a political perspective, that's only one part of the question. And again, there are other experts in policy who can give you all kinds of answers. My take on it is that all of this costs money. Eventually, we are working in a capitalistic society. We have an economy that looks at the bottom line. We are not in a particularly good era, and every cent counts here. So and these things really cost money, and time, and people, and qualified people. And we cannot think in silos. All of it again costs money. So we are talking here about re-looking at the way we look at profits, at cost of doing business, in order to be to sustain our business activities, and to create a robust and useful processes for the future. Okay, so this competition is fascinating because this is not just about cyber. This is, again, it's a very multidimensional, anti-silo, multidisciplinary exercise. And over the years, we've developed better scripts and better scenarios that are very complex, very nuanced, and demanded the teams to show both their knowledge in terms of cyber policy and general policy mechanisms, processes, ways, rules of engagement, timelines, as innovation, all the arsenal that we have at our disposal. But not only that, but innovative ideas about cyber, which develops very quickly, and adjacent issues. And every scenario is different. So suddenly they are faced with very complex realities. Suddenly they have to know about medical, or about transportation, or about routes, or roads, or disruption in all kinds of spheres of life. civil unrest, financial implications. It all ties in together, and this is why this is such a fascinating place to be. It really takes folks who come from different universities, who study different disciplines, and who have to get out of their comfort zone and look, and sometimes guesstimate, look for solutions that address issues in areas that they have absolutely no expertise in. But there is a common denominator, and you can still give good, sound advice, and you can still have the right methodology and mechanisms to have the language with which to talk about the problematics. The analysis you can bring to the table will be still valid. The recommendations you will bring to the fictitious panel of experts are going to be very useful. Now, teams that don't do that don't fare well. Teams that do that tend to get better as they come along in the competition. This year I find the level better than the previous years, which I think is a great thing, because it would be very sad if we were going to have less competence with the years. I think people look at the results of other years. They consult. It really fosters teamwork and collaboration between teams, participants and delegates. They stay in touch on social media. They follow each other, which is fantastic. And they all come from different cultures, and they take a hell of a lot back. And I think all of us judges and stakeholders, it's a very nurturing experience for us. We get to learn a lot from this competition as well. I think the threats are both technical, organizational, political, and systemic. There are better experts who can elaborate on many of these. But say from a private sector perspective, I think, again, we don't have enough motivation in terms of organizational culture and resources to invest in the correct kind of cyber hygiene protection tools, and a real paradigm shift. This is beyond compliance. This is not compliance just to comply. We're talking about creating added value, being more competitive, being able to be better connected, smart, and technically smart, and basically mitigating a new kind of risk that is extremely difficult for people to perceive of. I believe that integrating new processes and policies into every sphere is important, because cyber has no borders. Cyber does not stop at a certain place just because that is a different industry. So we need to look at things from a more gestalt kind of a perspective.